Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night stream. And I'm also surprised to see Claire on the stream because she's not actually at home right now. What voodoo is this? I'm going to have to apologise in advance for this stream because my son has given me the sniffles, so I'm going to be a bit croaky and there might be some sneezing, but we're ploughing on anyway. Right, so what have I been doing? You might notice that the layout of D-Deck has changed quite a bit since the last stream on Sunday. And that is because I have been just greyboxing the layout and walking around it and getting a feel for how it flows. And I wasn't happy with the zigzag arrangement I had with the corridors here on the previous version. And having these 4 stairwells at these 4 points was just redundant because the distance between here and here was so small. It really rendered those staircases pointless. So, to fix both of those problems, I have simply made this a straight run from the central staircase out to the outer circle. And to make the outer circle a little bit more interesting and a little bit more usable as a thoroughfare, I've doubled the width of the outer ring, and I'll put some sort of seating placements along there with plants in the middle of them and make them look pretty. I'll probably make them a bit smaller. They're a bit long right now, but that's kind of the gist of where I'm going with it. So what this actually gives us is we have these discrete segments or quadrants of the ship, and the quadrants are neatly separated by these straight corridors, which is nice. I also had a corridor here originally, and that was kind of pushing the view distance a little bit far, so I really needed to block it off. Plus, I'm kind of working on the rule that whenever there's a junction of some kind, there needs to be a display screen telling the player where they are on the ship. So by having a wall here, it means I can put a display screen there, the You Are Here map, and also at the other end as well, here. And on these walls I'll probably just have some labels, just to let you know that this is forward corridor ring 3, because this is very much the residential hub in the middle there. We've also got some fuel tanks and coolant tanks kind of starting to be blocked in here. And again, I had the corridor diagonally in line with the RCS thrusters at the front here, so it was actually running parallel to that. But that does make this room a really, really awkward shape to work with. And not only that, there wasn't really enough room to fit in the fuel tanks. So by kind of squaring that off, we make room for the fuel tanks, and it kind of squares off this room here a little bit more, which has allowed me to fit in a 4-lane pro-dimensioned bowling alley. So I looked it up online and got the dimensions for what is considered sort of competition accurate measurements. So we've got 4 lanes there, and that's just a separate area. So we'll have probably a bar running along this curve here, lots of seating, maybe some pool tables over this side, and then the bowling alley there. This is kind of a separate offshoot, so I'll make that a sort of an archway and probably make it double height. The other reason for having this back corridor here is we need ways for staff to get stuff into these rooms without kind of using the main entrance. So we can have some kind of back access doorways here for things like stores. So I can make this area here a storeroom, and then we can have access directly into the stores from the back here. So if we were transporting anything from the cargo hold, so the main cargo lift is going to be here, then really it just needs taking around this ring and then in the back of where it needs to go. We'll have the door here for the weapons room. In fact, oh no, don't want to delete it. Let's just pop that door in while we're talking about it. See, that's very much just grey boxing. But it kind of gives you an idea of where things are going to be. And then along here we'll have windows all the way along and some seating. Again, it's a slightly wider corridor than usual. And then the windows from sickbay can look out over the external windows there. Anasi, now this isn't remaking the interior, this is refining. So we had our rough layout of what we wanted to do with it, and then now it's a case of taking that rough layout and do some sort of refining passes on that, polishing it up, making sure that it's kind of human scale. Because one of the traps you can fall into when you're grey boxing stuff like this is you can make things a lot bigger than they need to be in reality. Like, now here's the size of a person, and that there is the width of a normal corridor minus the edge piece, and again minus the edge piece here. So I'm trying to keep everything as a human scale as possible. And here's another example where a crew quarters would consist of all 4 of these squares. So this section here would be a living area. Obviously that wouldn't be a wall, that's just a ceiling support. And then you've got the bedroom here and the bathroom leading off from there. Now the issue with this is that that is a standard double bed, which makes this really quite a big space. And in fact, if we drag Steve in, or Chris rather, so scale-wise, this is quite a big space. And then this bathroom is massive. So we can probably squeeze in another crew quarters somewhere. Like if we bunch all these up a little bit, we can fit another set in there, increasing the amount of crew quarters on the ship. And that's probably true across the board. But again, now that we have the layout that we want, we can start refining and refining until it's all the right scale and everything fits nicely. Yeah, so when it comes to the bowling alley, I kind of wanted to keep the noise from that separate from the rest of the bar. So it's still going to be go on the wall. It's still going to be a big space. It will still be part of the bar. I had a picture. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Saw a picture of a nice 4-lane bowling alley that was all kind of self-contained, and it looked quite swish. Can I find it again? Probably not. Oh, yes, I can. Yeah, so I was thinking, something like that. So you've got your 4 lanes, you've got, what would be kind of an ornate, decorated environment, and that's separate from the bar. However, behind you, from where the perspective of the camera is here, you've got this open space, so we have some more seating at the back here. So in this instance, the camera would be about there, and then what you'd be looking at would be that. Kind of like the design of this as well, with kind of the slanted edge there and the blue lighting. I think what I end up making will be quite similar to this. So we'll probably have the same white wall panels as the rest of the ship, but with kind of blue LED highlights. And to be honest, we can hook these LEDs into the alert system as well. So when the ship's at, say, red alert, then they'll turn red, which would be quite cool. So that's kind of the plans for that area. And then I just need to work out how much space I need here. I guess the bigger question is, because this is going to be 2 decks tall, it kind of makes sense to have like a mezzanine area. So I turn on the template there. I cut a hole in this ceiling a minute. Yeah, so you've got, or potentially you've got, access on D-Deck as well. And if that is retained as access on D-Deck, then we can have a mezzanine area as well. Obviously, that wouldn't be there. Over like that. Obviously, that hole wouldn't be there. So all of that space there would be a tall bowling alley. Obviously, you've got the drop ceiling as well. There's at least 1 meter of space there from the outer hull separation. If you're not the captain role, is there a way to make the ship go back to dock to get some upgrades? Or do you need to see when the NPC captain decides to go back to Earth for upgrades? Yeah, it's the NPC captain is going to work from a priority tree, and if the ship is ailing in some way, then at some point the priority tree is going to come up with the fact that the crew has reached kind of a threshold of capacity, like you've lost so many people, or supplies are such that the ship needs to be restocked. And if that isn't available out there in the black, then the NPC captain would decide, right, it's time to go back to Earth. So it's going to be based on those priority trees and what the ship's actual needs are. One of the things we want to do for the captain role is to set conditions for the ship, or set kind of standing orders. So if you are playing as the captain and you want to go off duty and kind of hand over to an NPC CO or something like that, XO rather, then you can leave standing orders with that NPC that's taking over, and that's what they'll do. So you could set standing orders to go and find a good mining location, for example, for getting new materials, and then to conduct that mining operation So whilst the XO is managing that and looking for suitable asteroids to mine, you as the captain could just be going off doing something else. Obviously that's kind of the far end of the NPC system. With its initial implementation, it's all going to be priority tree based. For any weapon systems, are you factoring in support areas behind it, like battery rays for energy weaponry, ammo, or anything ballistic? Yes. So the room that's here, with this really high quality turret above it, as these areas here are kind of being squared off and fleshed out, that's obviously going to form an oddly shaped room here, but that gives us more room for magazines for the railgun slugs and capacitor banks for the actual energy to fire the railgun and the beam lasers. So this room here, which will be double height, there's going to be turrets above and below, and they're both being fed and managed from this one room. So it's quite a large space, and most of that's going to be filled with capacitors and magazines. We'll probably also have a 3D printer in there for printing out new railgun slugs. Yeah, so there will be actual support hardware for that. Bear with me one sec. Okay, I'm back. Just had to sort out what's happening with the bird. So for anyone that doesn't know, we're currently rehabilitating a little baby sparrow. We're now well into the second week, and she's doing really well, actually. She's started feeding for herself. She'll come back to the little aviary we put in the garden, and rather than waiting to be hand-fed, she'll now actually peck at a bowl of food, so that's good. Yes, anyway, so weapons will have associated rooms. Will the cold and dark checklist change with the remodeled ship? A little bit, I expect, yeah. The process itself will be the same, it's just things will be stretched out. The deck separation is now double what it was before. I think, yeah, I have already moved all of the tutorial steps to their new locations. Yeah, that aside, there shouldn't be too much more in the way of changes. Once we implement the reactor control room, then there will be a lot of changes, because a lot of the actions that you perform by running around the ship, you'll be able to do from the engineering control room. And yes, each crew member gets their own apartment. Tailbox, yeah. Everything is done in SketchUp, and obviously it's not vanilla SketchUp. I use an awful lot of different plugins, but it can do a lot with plugins. Obviously, it doesn't do everything that's needed, so you do need to do things like UV mapping and normals and that sort of thing within either Blender or Unreal. Fortunately, Unreal can do that itself. But yeah, for basic modeling, if you're just exporting an object file, SketchUp does a pretty good job. I think I felt apprehensive as well, kind of revealing the fact that I'm using SketchUp for game dev, because people's knee-jerk reaction is, "Oh God, you're using SketchUp. That's not a game dev tool." But most of what I do is ArchViz and hard surface modeling, and for that sort of thing, SketchUp was designed for that. So it's good for rapidly putting things together. And with the subdivision plugins, you can do organics as well, which is quite cool. And with ClothWorks, you can do cloth modeling too. So it is a good tool if you absolutely pack it with plugins. Half of which are actually paid as well. So Blender is obviously better and free and doesn't require all the same plugins, but it's about what you know, and SketchUp's what I know, so it's what I use. Thank you, Roy. Yes, I've got a large glass of water here, and apparently I also now have a cat on my desk. He must be hungry. Hang on, I'm just instructing my son to feed the cat. Seems to be that time of night when all the animals need fed. El Jonorino, good question. Yeah, so is it possible to become stuck with no drive and insufficient materials to fix it? Thus, game over. It's going to be difficult to get yourself into that state. I want it to be the fact that the FTL capacitors can hold enough charge for approximately 5 light years worth of FTL. So how you charge those capacitors up can vary between solar panels to plugging a shuttle into the ship underneath into its auxiliary port. If you can get those FTL capacitors charged, then you can limp wherever you need to be to harvest more resources. If the core reactor module is destroyed, then I like the idea of that not being something you can fix out in the field. So in that instance, then that ship really does need to be dragged back to Earth. So I like the process of having to decide, or there having to be consequence of making the decision to keep exploring and to keep flying, many light years from Earth. When your crew level is dropping through accident and injury, and your ship systems are degrading through damage and wear and tear, and if some of those systems can only be repaired fully in space dock, then that kind of forces either the NPC captain or the player captain to have to make that call at some point. Things have reached a threshold, it's now time to turn around. Yeah, these fuel tanks are, well, it's going to be one tank for coolant and another tank for whatever inert gas we're going to be using for the Vasimir RCS engines, or Vasimir-ish, depending on what we refine that tech to be. But we'll have the same in the engine pods at the back. So for the sublight engines, the engine pod that contains the actual engines and nozzles, it will also have fuel tanks and coolant tanks and things within that engine pod. So it's not just going to be an empty pod with engines in it. So with the refueling hardware, which will be located underneath here somewhere, the gas scoop essentially, the pipe work from all of these various tanks and things all over the ship will all kind of amass where the gas collection hardware is, and there will be like a gas manifold, and all those tanks can be filled up from that manifold as you're skimming a gas giant for new materials, new gases. Yeah, there will definitely be some form of intercom on the ship. We have to have a think about how exactly that's going to work. Technically, it should be fairly straightforward. If you as the player are connected to a specific channel within the game, so say you're in engineering, then you'd automatically be connected to the engineering channel. Then if someone broadcasts chat or a message on the engineering channel, then anyone within that channel will pick up that message. And we could probably do that deck by deck as well. So say the captain on the bridge, if he wants to make an announcement just to a particular deck, then only that deck will play that audio. But that's something we can delve into once we've got in-game voice chat sorted. Yes, moving faster does use more fuel. We definitely want it to be the case where if you want to conserve fuel, just turn the engines down and you get diminishing returns depending on how much you turn the reactor up. Lore-wise, this is the first FTL ship out there, so Earth doesn't have an FTL tow ship that can come and get you. You're very much trailblazers going out there for the very first time. The lore behind this vessel is that this is a proof of concept, a test bed for the concept of deep space exploration, so you're very much on your own. Yes, it's like a ram scoop. So for refueling the ship's fluids, you will be skimming the upper cloud layers of gas giants, harvesting helium and deuterium. When can we expect the release of 225.1? Good question. As soon as humanly possible. As for when that is, I'm not sure. We'll have a clearer idea once we're into our bug fixing phase. But yeah, it's a difficult question to answer at the moment because there's still quite a bit that needs doing. But we will keep you posted. I don't know about ablative armor, but the ship will definitely have armor. And it will break. So I suppose you could argue that it is ablative. Yeah, I don't see why not. Once we've got alien physical presence in the galaxy with stations and things, and making one of those a fuel hub is fairly academic at that point. Right, let's try and get something done, shall we? Right, so to speed up this process, I've been essentially duplicating everything I've been doing here, so I think we need to start making some of this unique. You can be unique. Which means I can fix this hole. Yeah, there are bulkheads all over the ship. So essentially, like one there, and around the outside here you'll have a couple of bulkheads there, and around these bits. So yeah, there are going to be many dozens of bulkheads all over the ship. At some point, yes, atmosphere and air pressure will be modelled. So if you have a hull penetration somewhere and then that part of the ship is in vacuum, then the bulkheads will close and sort out that situation. Yep, my tea is always Earl Grey hot. So one of the things I was just about to do before coming on stream was I was going to work out where the brig is going to go, like in its final form. So one of these whole sections is going to be internal security, and then the other side is going to be crew resources, like a laundrette. So this doesn't need to be here. These are the stairs down from sea deck. Yeah, the stairwells are definitely a point of weakness, but the stairwells themselves are surrounded by bulkheads, so if the stairwell itself is breached, then all of those bulkheads will close and the stairwell will essentially become unusable. This is one of those things to be fixed in the next ship. So obviously the idea of the Magellan is it's just a test. And when we come to build the Pathfinder class, which is supposed to be the successor to the Magellan, then the Pathfinder is going to be built with all the lessons that were learned from the Magellan's trials. So things like stairwells and placement of bulkheads and protection of stairwells, those are all things that we'll solve on the Pathfinder. Now, have we developed a breakdown of the crew? Yeah. So essentially there's going to be, and these numbers are going to increase slightly because we're going to have more crew quarters than we previously had. But if we assume a crew size of 200 at the minimum, then if we have a 3-shift rotation with each shift lasting 8 hours, then you have 33 on shift at any one time. And that works out something like, I believe it was 5 in engineering, 11 or 12 on the bridge, and then about 2 people in each science lab, plus a few others dotted around, doing some bits and pieces just across the ship generally. And the idea is that you're going to have 33% on shift, 33% doing entertainment things, and the other 33% in their crew quarters sleeping. And every time shift rotation changes, then obviously all those people then transition into the next state. No days off. Implementing days off just makes it all really complicated. Yeah, and everyone has their own room. So every single crew quarters will have a lounge area, a bedroom and a bathroom. Sort of a self-contained cabin. Like a hotel room. Yeah, there are no doors yet, so obviously these crew quarters are serviced by this corridor, and then these crew quarters are serviced by this corridor. So, like, you'd have a door here, for example. That wall won't be there, that would just be like an archway. You'd have a door here into the bedroom, and then a door here into the bathroom. Yeah, I'm debating using this space either side here for additional crew quarters, because by using these, it gives us something like an extra 20 or 30 crew quarters just by filling in these gaps on either side of the ship across 2 decks. So there's potential there, but I'm still toying with the idea of airlocks on this side of the ship, in which case at least half of that needs to be taken up by airlock. The awkward thing with the airlock, though, is for the airlock to appear symmetrically on the side of the ship, then obviously it needs to be here, sort of betwixt decks. So the airlock hardware is going to start up here somewhere, which means there needs to be some kind of access stairs and a suit room. There will be things to work out there, but it's a nice place for an airlock because you've got a big stairwell that takes you all the way up to C deck and all the way down to E deck, and you're right on the sort of the main thoroughfare that goes around the ship. Again, the point of which is if we've got sort of admin and other stuff at the back of the ship, so admin and facilities at the back, habitation in the middle, and then sort of town centre stuff at the front. This becomes like the main ring road going around here. So the idea is that with crew transitioning from the front to the rear of the ship, they'll be using the ring road all the way around. It's the big, the widest space, it's the easiest to navigate. They generally wouldn't be going into kind of the crew quarters bit to get where they were going. Yeah, there's a lot we could do shift pattern wise, but in the name of simplicity, it's easier just to have 3 8-hour shifts and then just have the crew constantly rotating between those shifts. Again, because it's a game, we have to simplify some things. Anyway, so I'm thinking there are plenty of wall maps around the ship showing you where you are, and they all have "you are here" written on them. So it would be good to make the internal security area its own actual area, in which case it would have its own entrance. So the logic with this lower section here, so we're on E deck right now. We need the main airlocks going into the shuttle bay, and then on the rear side here we need our kind of boarding desk, general information desk, so any passengers or crew boarding the ship have like a desk they can go to and get their crew assignments and that sort of thing. Sorry, just having a quick cough. Yeah, so this is kind of like a waiting room / information desk area. I do want there to be a sort of a grand staircase design here. So that's one of the first things you see if you're kind of boarding from the shuttle bay. You're kind of faced with this kind of grand staircase, which would be quite cool. I think this is probably the most sensible place for security to live. Right next to the shuttle bay, ready to deal with any issues that may crop up. Which means we need the brig to be sort of enclosed in here, maybe. Or potentially around this ring, to be honest. This could be a ring of brigs right there. Yeah, don't get hung up on window sizes or anything like that. This is literally just like me throwing things together just to see what feels good layout-wise. When it comes to actually building it properly, it will be measured up and done properly. You know what, I quite like the idea of having a curved row of brig there. So how wide is that? So that would be about 6 meters to there. Almost wide enough for a full corridor there. See, 6 meters feels a little too generous for a brig. Then here's how much room we've got. How wide is this? So this one is... that's almost 3. Yes, we can live with 3. Save as usual. Yeah, see, that would be 4 meters. And if we make this 4 meters as well, polyline divider, make that 400, equalize it. how many would that be? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, conveniently 10. So I'm just kind of riffing with this, really. So we could have a curved row of brig cells like that, and obviously that then needs an access corridor in its own right, and we don't want that to be too pokey. So if we were to do well, the standard corridor width is 310. I don't think it needs to be quite that big, so if we just do it just 3 meters. Or, what if we made this side the corridor and then have the cells in the middle there? And we could just back the offices and things onto there. Yeah, this isn't maximum security or anything like that, it's literally just a brig. That said, the walls are going to be 1-inch thick titanium, so good luck getting out of it. I suppose on that note, though, it does need a kind of an airlock of a sense, doesn't it? No, there will be negative actors on the ship, certainly in the story mode, and that's going to form part of the internal security gameplay. Really, the brig is there, one, as a way of dealing with trolls in multiplayer, and two, just because we're building the ship with everything it could possibly need, as though it were real. So some kind of a brig or detention center is kind of like a necessary evil. Mike S, there's a very long answer to that question, so I'll try and give you the simple version. I guess the quick answer is we just are. The slightly longer answer is it's going to be the same as the electrical system, where it's fully simulated. And I guess the even longer answer is, certainly in terms of the HVAC, the ship's going to be split into logical segments, and each of those segments is going to pass its state onto adjacent segments, which is how things like air pressure will propagate throughout the ship. And the internal plumbing, again, is going to be exactly the same as how the electrical system works. and indeed the fluid system for supplying the reactor that's in the demo currently. Oh, don't worry, everything is going to be very much over-engineered. If there's a light switch, it will have a wire. The other thing I want to add for internal security is a shooting range. So that kind of has to fit in here as well somewhere. It doesn't have to necessarily be big. You make a good point there, Roy. However, the issue is that this is like the public crew side of the wall. So, you know, operationally, yes, you're going to get some crew quarters that are, sorry, some cells that are out of view as you walk around. I'm stuck in the wall. There we go. It's kind of unavoidable, really, with the shape of the room. I mean, the only other thing we could do is maybe line them up along this wall here, and then just have the offices with a curved wall. But yeah, have little shame portholes all the way along. Let me just Google a minute. So typical length of an indoor shooting range. Okay, seems to be around about 75 feet. How long is that in this sense? So 75 feet is that long. Okay, I'm gonna fit that in. What's 30 yards in feet? Oh, about 90. Okay. Yeah, I was just looking at a diagram. It says from the firing line, 75 feet to the trap area, and then the trap area is 20 feet deep. Which is about 90. Perhaps we should just put all the cells at the end of the target range. One problem can solve the other. How far is that? Not far enough. All of the weapons in the game are energy based. They're essentially it's like a lightning gun, except it's a straight beam. So it fires a particle beam of electrons essentially, and that forms a path for a very, very high voltage beam of electricity, like a lightning laser with variable strength shock. Yeah, I don't actually know what the lore is behind phasers. Interest. How wide are you? 635. Okay, so 6 meters should be reasonably wide enough. Yeah, having weapons back in the game and the ability to destroy things like wall panels and ceiling lights is largely waiting on a character person. We need an improved character system so that all that can be properly built, properly animated, and a lot less clunky to the version we had before. I think this is probably going to be good enough, to be honest. Because with a bit of jiggery pokery, we can get a corridor into here. Get an airlock there. We can run the cells literally around the back of the firing range, and then have the offices and things here, and then access to the firing range can be around the back. Let's give that a try a sec. So if we run on the assumption that the main entrance to the internal security office is kind of here, but give it some double doors and give it a reasonably grand entrance. That means we're going to have some kind of desk area there, maybe. Yeah, this will all be on this evening's dev build. All good, all good. I'm just glad you're excited for it. Ah, yes, thank you. It's probably worth mentioning, actually. We have been nominated for a Wings Award. And if I just have a look at what that actually entails a sec. This was very much something Claire was looking into, because Wings, essentially they invest in diverse teams, and specifically in this case, game studios or games that are made where a woman is like a major part of the studio or the production, in which case that is Claire. So we have been nominated for the Europe 2024 Wings Award, and we are up against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other games. So we've got Odada, The End of the Sun, Yes Your Grace Snowfall, Lunar Abyss, Map, a game about maps, cleverly named, Corridon, I think it's pronounced, Copycat, No Mori, Once Upon a Rogue's Tale, and Two Falls, Nishu Takuachina. Probably butchered that pronunciation. So that's very much thanks to Claire's hard work, that one. I was looking at No Mori earlier, actually. It reminds me of Portal, but if Portal had variable gravity. Similar kind of thing with Portal, in which you're dragging a cube around to kind of open portals and doors and things. But it also has like a forwards and backwards in time option, so you could put a cube somewhere and then move it somewhere else and then stand on it and then replay time backwards, and then the cube goes back to where it was with you still standing on it. It's quite a cool puzzle game. I'm feeling imposter syndrome because these are great indie titles that have established gameplay already, and we've yet to really implement any gameplay yet, so I kind of feel a bit guilty being nominated. Actually, I'm just thinking with this. I kind of want the shooting range to be like off of the security office. So if this is like the front desk, so that's one corridor's width. So we have to make that 4 meters. We have to make the desk 4 meters maybe. Kind of like that. And that would kind of line up like that. Let's try that again. So we'd have like a main entrance there, security desk there, and I guess the entrance there, maybe? Thanks, Roy, and thanks for watching. I've just had a thought. So, with this RCS pod here, that's our kind of protected area for engineering access, which means that we've got a limited space here for tanks, etc. It's all going to be a bit of a tight squeeze. And I can make the tanks a bit smaller because they're 6 meter wide tanks, which is kind of huge. I'm just thinking I could do similar here. So, for argument's sake, if I get rid of that a minute. No, we don't want to get rid of all of it. So that would be wall position through there. Actually, no, it would be there, there. Right, so that would curve round and connect up with that. Which means these need to fit somewhere in here. So that could... Probably squeeze it in. The awkward thing at the back of the ship is it comes in at a tighter angle to kind of form this curve, whereas here it's quite chunky, so you've got enough room for tanks. So the tanks at the back here might have to be different. That's fine, because Claire keeps telling me I should stop trying to make everything symmetrical. She hates it when I make everything symmetrical. That was ever so slightly off. Yeah, so that's joining up there, and I can just partition that off there. I just have not quite so many brigs. And then the question becomes, where do we join this up to? Essentially, we've got that bit there. So doing it this way, we get a little bit of a corner issue there, but let's give us a slightly squarer room. Everything's being mirrored at the moment because they're components, but they won't be, so this section will be different. But having it squarer like that is definitely beneficial. It's still going to be a struggle to fit these tanks in there. So definitely fit them kind of that one fits in nicely. This one's going to be a challenge. And then the engineering access is going to drop down below here, so where the support is for where are the edge pieces? Oh, there. I was looking on the wrong side. So here, that's where the stairs are going to go down, and they're going to follow this curve. So that's essentially going to be a staircase inside that curve. That's where it's going to connect to F deck underneath here. There won't be a hole down to F deck from the stairwell there. It's all going to be a secure area. So I just need to make sure all that fits as well. And then the actual engineering space is what's in this space here. So obviously all that's going to be RCS hardware, and this is the maintenance space behind it, so you can access it and repair it, etc. Which means that this area behind here, with that stairwell going down, is completely isolated from the rest of the ship. And the same will be true for the rear engineering areas as well. They're all completely isolated from the rest of the ship, and the only way to get to them is via the service corridors from F deck, which I think is going to be quite cool, going there as an engineer, knowing that you're kind of crawling around areas that no one else can get to. Anyway, back to the brig. Right, so I like having the firing range running across the back there. I think that's a good place for it. And we'll make that probably 2 decks tall. Because that is an interesting point actually, because we've got 2 decks worth of space to play with here. Well, below here is cargo holds. So all this area underneath is all going to be cargo hold space. But above this is just more deck. So if we bring up the D deck template, obviously that's different down below now. But we have all this space up here as well. So we need sort of the head of security's office needs to be here somewhere. And it would be nice actually if I can fit the whole thing into this single deck area, because that frees up space for other things above it. It also keeps it nicely compartmentalized as well, which is nice. Funnily enough, when I first started sketching out the ship, I was looking at the golden ratio and kind of thinking, you know, can we make it fit that? Because the idea being that that's obviously what humans find attractive. Although Joe Scott did a great video on that and kind of debunked that entirely. But no, I don't think it does. Although it might, because the ship is twice as long as it is wide, which means in terms of like concentric circles and overlapping circles, it kind of does fit that doubling rule. So maybe there's some element of golden ratio in it. The golden ratio, or the golden mean, is supposed to be like all the most attractive things that, like the paintings and sculptures and things that humans find the most visually appealing, kind of conform to this golden ratio. Hang on, let me find a picture. kind of like that. There's loads of examples of it, like that one, and on the whole page, just image address. That one. That one. I'm pretty sure someone did a golden ratio thing on the USS Enterprise. Oh yeah, they did. So it's like, you know, multiples of the golden ratio are why things like look attractive and look right. And I'm sure it's probably something to do with the fact that it's something that crops up in nature like time and time again. So if something looks naturally good, it's because it conforms to the same kind of ratios that organic things do in nature. So it doesn't look out of place, or it looks more natural, something like that. There's some kind of human psychology reason behind it. Yeah, that was Joe Scott's argument on it as well, that you can make things fit the golden ratio by, I guess, you know, gaming it slightly. So, you know, you can arbitrarily pick where you're starting from and, you know, force things to fit. Like, one could argue that this one here doesn't really fit. I mean, yes, the ratio is correct, but yeah, I mean, this one's interesting. There's definitely some tie-in there, and you know, whether Andrew Probert, did Andrew Probert do the original Enterprise? I can't remember now. Or was that Jeffries? Was it Matt Jeffries or Andrew Probert that drew the original Enterprise? One of the two. But yeah, that's the concept behind it. Thank you. Yeah, so whether or not he knew about the golden ratio is, don't know. Was it on purpose? That's the question. Yeah, I think that's really the crux of it. It's things that conform to the golden ratio tend to look, you know, right, in inverted commas, because it's such a widespread shape in nature that the human brain is kind of attuned to those kind of ratios in the natural world. So if you're designing something or drawing something and you have those same kind of proportions, then it just looks right, And if it just looks right, then it's kind of naturally more appealing. Yeah, these inner walls are a part of the support structure. So these won't be this thick. Obviously, they're cavities. So it's the same 40 centimeter cavity that's across the whole vessel. So I'm just thinking here, if let's get rid of that for a minute. Yeah, so that would be our shooting range there. And then we'll have artificial targets and things down that end that you won't need to go and deal with because they'll be kind of computer generated. And then maybe some like score things as well. It could be quite fun to track scores. I'm just thinking if I move that in a bit. Unless you're kind of stood at a weird angle with the wall. And then we can maybe have like gun racks and things on these two walls here. Yeah, I'm liking that. The measurement was 75 feet and then an extra 20 feet. Takes us up to there. So to be honest, that really can just take up the whole space. Which gives us an extra room here. That becomes the shooting range. It doesn't really matter, that's a funny shape at the end because that will have stuff built there. Yeah, testing out alien weaponry is a great use for it, actually. Yeah, you could have something like the noisy cricket from Men in Black, and it blows a hole in the side of the hull. Alright, there we go. I will just square this off for now, just to make it neat. To find something to do with that cavity at the back. Yep, that sounds like a good idea, Ian. So have all the hardware behind here that manages the targets that appear. Right, so that's our shooting range. Then we should probably not have that accessible from the outside. So obviously there's going to be live firearms stored in the racks there. So if we block that off, I mean, potentially that could be a seating area. Why have I lost half my wall? Okay, so there's our like security desky thing. Probably live with moving that way another meter maybe. Put some seating there. Yeah, the big room next to the bridge that currently has Steve guarding it is actually going to be the A-deck bathroom in the long run. But on the left-hand side of the bridge as you go in the alcove, that's where the internal security station is going to be on the bridge. There will be an arms locker there, so the internal security guy can just swing around in his chair, open the arms locker and pull out whatever ordnance he needs. It's better to have that on the bridge than like outside of where it's needed. Just thinking so the corridor with the brigs along it kind of shouldn't be accessible outside of the security office itself. Which means, ideally, we move this down here a bit. Yeah, and to prevent people being able to access the brigs themselves without going into the actual security office. Which means we would have a door there somewhere. Yeah, the walls in the game are pretty sturdy. So that's a standard 1 meter door. Let's make it a 2 meter door. So you'd have, so it means the entire internal security complex is fully self-enclosed, for one, which is prudent. You've got your one main entrance, you've got your security desk, the side entrance where security staff can enter and exit. And I guess you then need a corridor. Yes. Yeah, the red shirts are mandatory. Hi, Triple Helix. We're working on these internal security offices today, including the brig and the shooting range. So this is the shooting range here. The brig is going to be along the back wall there. And I'm just wondering where to put the office. So that would be like the inquiries office there. And then we'd need the actual Chief of Security Office, needs to be in here somewhere. Yeah, it's funny that the moment you look like you work somewhere, people immediately ask you questions. So during like a general quarters, I did see someone ask this earlier and I didn't get around to answering it. So yes, during general quarters, anyone that's in bed will be dragged out of bed as a matter of course. Where they'll be positioned, excuse me, cold taking over, I guess anywhere which is a security risk, so they'd be positioned around stairwells, I would have thought, the main access points. Security desks that will be there will probably be doubled up with security staff, and then you'll have them posted in places like entrances to engineering, essentially anywhere critical. Claire made a similar clothing faux pas recently. We went to a local fish and chip shop in town, and when we went into the fish and chip shop, we realised that she was wearing their exact uniform. All good, Commander Delta. So I reckon we make this a corridor, then that be the outer wall of it, which means that can go away. Means this becomes the security officer's office. means we'd have to have a door here. Let's do it in the middle. Hi Grimlock, I'm working on the internal security offices at the moment, and that includes the firing range, the brig, and just a general office structure. So here's an example of how my brain works. We have a width of this space, and this wall is not exactly aligned to that width, so that needs fixing. That's a difference of 14 centimeters, but 14 centimeters makes a difference. Or so Claire keeps telling me. Look, now it's in the middle. And everything is right with the world. Okay, we're definitely getting there, I think. Let's try doing it the other way around. So this would be the corridor side. There. Which means we'd have brigs either side. So we'd have, I suppose, 4 brigs in total. Okay, so that would be 4 meter cells. That's not going to work, is it? 'Cause I know where I'm going with this. Right, so you size is that? So that's 42. So if yeah. So 400 gives us 1, 2, 6. No good because that's going to be tiny. Let's try that a minute. Oops, too many. So I was thinking, if I measure that to the middle, but it's going to make an awkward space over here. So how far is that? So that one's 885. Extra meter. Three. Almost the same. The hospital is right at the front here, so this is going to be the medical facility. It'll be split over 2 floors, and the all the beds in the ward will be overlooking the park area to aid in the mental recovery of the crew. Right, so what I think we need here is we need like 2 interrogation / like processing rooms. I'm basing this purely off of what I've seen on TV. I'm essentially kind of making a police station. Yeah, exactly. So in terms of layout, it does seem to make more sense to have the cells against the back wall. Then you've just got decently equal sized cells thereabouts. Certainly clean that up. Which means that becomes the access corridor there. That's only that's only one corridor width. So yeah, the only way out of this is to somehow melt your way through inch-thick titanium. Good luck with that. Right, so if we give us a 400 cell, and then that would be the front wall of the cell. Joining up all the points a minute. Yep, there will be a theatre. In fact, there it is. Haven't quite fully figured out the access, but I think we'll have an entrance either side of the bottom and at the top, maybe a walkway down the centre, and then seating either side. Or we'll just have ground floor access and not bother with top access at all. But yeah, that's where the theatre will be. Yes, Gabrielle, in fact, we're right next to it. Bowling alley, right there. Yeah, you should be able to play files on your PC easily enough. I just need to set up the code for reading from the folder. The game knows where its content directory is locally, so we'll probably do it by way of making a subfolder on the content directory, and that's where you plop your videos. Yeah, Claire was mentioning that as well, actually. We need some kind of snacks for the theatre. I don't know yet, is the answer. We haven't got a huge amount of space to play with. But then there is a bar right next door, so there's no reason why you can't come over here, buy some snacks, and then take them into the cinema. Yeah, nightclub is the one thing we don't have. And there isn't really room for one either, sadly. We just have to rely on the bar. And after autosave has done its thing, I shall give you a quick tour. So at the front, obviously got the park area there, hydroponics there, which is over 2 floors, lots of vertical farming going on in there. Sick bay there, theatre there, cinema. This side's going to be the gym and general fitness area. This happens to be the size of half of a basketball court, or at least the D of the basketball court. So this is going to have a basketball hoop there, just literally just a half court, and that'll be 2 decks tall. But then behind that you'll have a fitness room upstairs, and maybe some showers and things downstairs. But that's essentially a self-contained gym there. Up here, that wall won't be there. This is the main crew mess. So you'll have the stores and kitchens over this side, accessible from the rear corridor. And then from the main entrance at the front, you'll have all the tables and things. Maybe serving area here with the kitchens behind it. Then all of this will be main crew mess. And on this side, you have of course the bowling alley, and this is going to be just a bar. So you have a curved bar wrapping around that wall, loads of tables and chairs, maybe some pool tables and things over this side. And again, some storerooms accessible from the rear. Can do, yeah. I mean, the main concern I had with having the cinema here was that sick bay is right next to it, and it didn't seem right to have potentially thumping bass from a movie when they're trying to perform operations. So yeah, potentially swap those two round. The rooms are the same size, so it makes a little difference really. First, you can press 7 and 9 on your numpad for rolling the ship. If you press F4, it gives you a whole list of the commands. I shall tell you in a sec. I was complaining that it was too small, so I'll probably make it a bit bigger. It is 1009 centimeters. What's that in inches? It's a 397-inch screen. Which is 33 feet. Yeah, you've probably never heard of him. It's this guy called Dan Govier. Yep. And Claire, who does everything else. Okay, I think we finally have our brig. Let's just clean up a bit of that geometry there. So the general idea here, and we should probably make some doors, shouldn't we? Just to we have access to stuff. These precisely opposite each other, just because. Right. So you've got the main entrance to the security offices here. I'll put some seating and stuff there. We've got like a security information desk, just general desk, which will have an office space behind it. That would become the Chief Security Officer's office. You then got some questioning stroke handling rooms there. Any no-do-gooders. You've got the actual brig cells themselves there. It could probably, again, do with some kind of an airlock, which we could put in the middle here and have the doors here instead. But now that I mentioned that, that does sound better. I think I will do that actually, yeah. So I'll have the doors on this side for the two like meeting rooms, questioning rooms. There is a word for it, I can't remember now. Interrogation rooms, yes, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah. When I say airlock, I don't mean a literal airlock. I mean like a way of passing prisoners in and out without just having a single door. So like a double security thing, so you can't open both doors at once. Interlock, yeah, that's a better description. Yeah, so like you can't open the inner door whilst the outer door is open. You can only open one door at a time. Just to keep those pesky prisoners in their cells. If we have a couple of windows here, like window, another window, must be the same height. So I'm not too comfortable with the idea of just being able to walk into the shooting range, given that there's going to be weapons in there. But if at least if the chief of security has windows, facing that area, that they can see the thoroughfare of people wandering past. Yeah, I think that I think as layouts go, that could do very nicely indeed. I mean, to be honest, we could always square off this wall here and then just have a little space left over just for a guy sat with a stool. I think that would be captain's discretion. And if you've got someone who is genuinely a danger to themselves and others, then it's up to the captain to decide what to do with them. I mean, do they leave them rotting away in a brig for the entire mission, or do they just space them? It's entirely up to the captain. Nice thing about this though is that in order to get out of the cells, you would have to also maneuver your way through the entire security complex, or dig your way through literal titanium walls. And all the weaponry is stored the furthest point away from the cells, which is also prudent. Although talking of weaponry, there's no real armory in here, so maybe one of these two rooms can be the actual armory, or maybe this can be the armory, and then this could be the Chief Security Officer's office. That would probably make more sense. Have the armory opposite the shooting range. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, so if we make this the armory then, and then yeah, have a window for checking weapons in and out. And that also means we don't need to have weapons openly stored in the shooting range then either, because the weapons are obtained from here for the shooting range, so that works. To be honest, we could even put the wall here, put the door there, and then have two windows. Yeah, so then we'd make this then the Chief Security Officer's office, and make that the interrogation room. Because one interrogation room, I'm sure, is enough. If space is at a premium, we can always move these down a bit, because this doesn't need to be this big. Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with that. So obviously this side has just naturally mirrored that, so I need to get in here and pull out that geometry, but I won't do that yet because I need to figure out what I'm doing with the shuttle bay first, and that still needs to mirror. So for time's sake, I will leave that there for now. That needs joining up to there, I think, just for simplicity's sake. I should just do that for a minute. Hope I did it in the right group. That would follow the curve when I do it properly. Right, so we've got our rear access corridor here. If that's even needed, to be honest. Don't know now that it comes to it. I mean, at the front of the ship, we need this rear access corridor to access the weapons array there, and to get goods and materials and things into the back end of the crew serving rooms. So that side and that side is very much kind of behind the scenes access. But at the back of the ship, it's not necessarily needed, which means I then have space for these guys. I'll think on that, because otherwise this corridor is a little redundant, really. Now the engine pods are accessed from the other side of the wall. So the idea is that you've got the maintenance access, which is down this corridor here, although it would be like a maintenance tunnel. So essentially you're climbing through the ship's framework at this point. And literally on the other side of the wall, you've got crew access. Because the thing with the area between the skin of the ship and the crew access there is that the maintenance tunnel is going to be between decks. It's going to be a bit of an awkward one because of how all this stuff is arranged and organized. Like with the pylons attaching the engine pods, access to that's going to be in the middle. So I need to have a think about how I'm going to route that. So it's probably going to be the case that the behind the scenes access is going to be here. I'll see what makes the most sense. It might just be the case that it's just really tall. But we're going to need crew access to all of the hardware for the RCS. Now obviously the RCS is the full height of the ship. So in that instance you do need to be above and below it as well. Yeah, I think this section here is probably going to be in a flux for a little bit until I kind of nail the perfect solution. Because again, we've got to fit stairs down this curve, which currently we can't do because the curve ends there. So that's in the way anyway. Is it in the way at the front too? Yeah, it is really. Yeah. So I might need to move this over a bit so that it kind of ends here, so that we've got that access that we need down that curve. So all the considerations you need to think about when it's not just about making deck plans. And for me this is like, I guess the enjoyable part of it. Going back to my kind of origins when I was building Star Trek vessels from deck plans and building them like deck by deck in 3D. Making the deck plan work in 3D was always a challenge because most of the time the deck plans you find online were all made in 2D and don't work when you stack them. Things don't line up. And that's one of the big challenges with this, making it work in 3 dimensions. So the stairs have to line up and they have to have headroom and to have all those considerations taken into account. But yeah. Well, speaking of sleep, I'm going to call it a night here, now that we have our internal security area all sorted out. To go and grab a drink, have something to eat because I've not actually eaten yet, and it's now 11 PM, so I should probably go and do that. And yeah, I shall get this all imported in a sec, and I shall make sure that I put a build out before I go to bed. So keep an eye on Steam, and you will see the dev build get updated at some point this evening. You're welcome. Thank you again for watching the stream. It's always great to have you all here, and it's just nice to share the experience, isn't it? Otherwise I'm just sort of sat here in the corner of my bedroom, beavering away with my headphones on. It's just yeah, nice to share what I'm working on. Right, and on that happy note, I shall say adieu, and I shall see you all for the Sunday stream. Right, thanks again everyone. Bye for now.